Inflation surged to a three-year high in May, clocking in at 5.4%. But it doesn't stop there. The Bangko Sentral expects commodity prices to remain elevated for the rest of the year. The camp of President-elect Bongbong Marcos has filed a statement of contributions and expenditures, or SOCE, one day before the June 8 deadline. According to the submitted SOCE, Marcos Jr. spent 623 million pesos on his presidential campaign. High levels of arsenic were reported in the lake waters of at least 9 towns in Batangas. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's a roundup of stories we're watching now. I'm Sean Yao. The COMELEC is reminding candidates of the recently concluded national elections to submit their SOCEs on time or face disqualification and other penalties. Let's get some details from Greg Gregorio, who joins us live from Manila. Hi, Greg. What's the latest from the COMELEC?
Hi, Sean. Good evening. More candidates from the recent polls have submitted their respective statement of contributions and expenditures, or SOCEs, today. The camp of President-elect Bongbong Marcos brought 7 storage boxes, and his SOCE states that Marcos received a total of 624.6 million pesos worth of both cash and in-kind donations or contributions. This includes a 247.2 million peso in-kind donation from his political party, Partido Federal ng Pilipinas, or PFP. His SOCE claims that he did not need spending his own money during the campaign. Then presidential bet and outgoing Vice President Leni Robredo has also found her SOCE contained in 3 boxes. Her camp, though, has yet to release the amount indicated in her SOCE. The camp of fellow presidential candidate and outgoing Manila Mayor Isko Moreno has also filed his SOCE, but they have to be back tomorrow to supply other necessary documentary requirements. As for the then vice presidential candidates, only Doc Willie Ong has successfully filed his SOCE before the COMELEC. More senators and party list groups have also filed their respective SOCEs today. Tomorrow is the last day of the filing, and the COMELEC Campaign Finance Office said there will be no extension. Outgoing Interior Secretary Eduardo Año also warned of no SOCE, no oath-taking for winning candidates. Sean, with the SOCEs filed, among the things that the COMELEC will check is if these candidates did spend within the spending limit, or a little over 674 million pesos for those who were seeking national positions at the time of the elections. And those who have spent may be facing the possibility of disqualification from holding office. Sean?
All right, thank you so much for all those updates. Greg Gregorio reporting to us live from the COMELEC headquarters in Manila. Thank you, Greg. And the prices of basic commodities are still on the rise as inflation accelerates to 5.4% in May. Gerard de la Peña with the report.
It's a challenge for Marlene to stretch her 2,000 peso budget for 2 days. Instead of buying fresh meat, she opted for the cheaper frozen pork.
Malaking diferensya eh. 70 pesos ang diferensya. Kaya dito muna ako, iluluto ko naman agad eh.
Meanwhile, some like Mean are now choosing to ditch public transport and walk home just to make ends meet. For her, buying non-essentials is not an option at this point.
Minsan, di na kami nagkakape. Para yung ano namin, yung budget namin, yung kailangan lang pong bibilhin, yun lang po. Kasi na-handle ko naman na yung presyo.
It's no surprise why many Filipinos are now seeing higher prices of basic goods. The Philippine Statistics Authority reported that inflation in May surged to 5.4%. This is the fastest pace recorded since November of 2018. Food was the #1 contributor to the accelerated inflation, with vegetable prices increasing by 15.2%. Transportation costs also swelled by 14.6%. The Energy Department earlier reported that prices of diesel and gasoline went up amid Europe's ban on Russian oil imports.
Maraming nagsasabi na this is really due to increased transport costs. So spillover na ito, nakita natin itong mga nakaraang buwan na nagsimulang kumbaga mag-spill over yung effect ng increased transport doon sa food at food basket natin. At ngayong buwan nakita natin na talagang nagkaroon na siya ng malaking effect.
The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas expects inflation to remain elevated this year and could even breach its target. The central bank noted upside inflation prices from higher oil prices and the shortage in local pork and fish supply. The government has provided fuel subsidies for PUV drivers and has raised the minimum daily wage in several regions to alleviate impact of soaring commodity prices. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
One News Now will be back with more stories after this quick break. Keep it here. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. LGUs in Batangas are cautioning their residents against drinking water straight from the tap after water sources in the area were found to be contaminated with high levels of arsenic. JC Cosico with the details.
Some residents in Lemery, Batangas are still sticking to tap water, even after reports of the water source in the area being contaminated with arsenic.
Hindi naman po. Wala naman po. Dahil nasanay na po kami iniinom namin eh.
But for other residents, it's better to be safe than sorry. Geraldine, for instance, opted to buy gallons of mineral water instead for drinking and cooking.
Kinabahan ho dahil siyempre ang dami na naming nainom na dito. Yung pala ay delikado. Dito lamang nalaman namin na bawal, magastos. Dahil nabayad pa kami ng tubig na nito, nabili pa ng sa ano. Sa pag-ano ng pagkain.
With this, some barangays are having a hard time sourcing water safe for drinking. The Provincial Interagency Task Force on Arsenic, Taal Volcano Protected Landscape, says groundwater in 9 Batangas localities have been found positive for arsenic contamination. These include Lemery, Laurel, Balete, San Nicolas, Mataas na Kahoy, Alitagtag, Santa Teresita, Taal, and Tanawan City. Arsenic levels in these areas were above the normal and standard level of 10 parts per billion. Exposure to arsenic, mainly through drinking contaminated water, may cause and aggravate certain diseases.
It also will aggravate if you have a diabetes and hypertension, and then you can also have neurologic findings like, for example, pins and needles. Now, for the unborn child, it's very important to stress that pregnant women drinking water laced with arsenic or contaminated with arsenic will have effects on the fetus.
Doctors also noted boiling arsenic-contaminated water will not help. In fact, it will only increase its amount in the water.
This is not a bacteria. Kung bacteria siya, when you boil, it will kill the bacteria. But this is a chemical. Heavy metal ang tawag sa arsenic. It can never be created. It can never be destroyed. You're just exposing yourself to increased levels if you boil the water.
The provincial IETF says 11 out of the 154 people tested were found positive for arsenic. The increased levels of arsenic in water wells were first noticed after Taal Volcano's eruption in January 2020. A process called reverse osmosis can be done to filter out arsenic. For now, several LGUs are meeting with water distributors to alleviate the problem. Doctors also told the public to drink only purified and distilled water.
Yun kung mga gumagawa ng purified water, ang mga reverse osmosis. Ang distilled water din wala rin po yung arsenic.
The provincial government has allocated 3.5 million pesos for water tests. They will also examine water sources of different areas near Taal Volcano. For News 5, JC Cosico, we are One News.
Let's now take a quick look at today's other top stories. The SUV driver involved in a hit-and-run incident in Mandaluyong was a no-show in today's meeting with the Land Transportation Office. The LTO says another show-cause order will be issued against the driver on Friday. The Office of the Ombudsman has filed graft charges against 43 immigration officials over the so-called Pastilla scheme. The Ombudsman says the Pastilla scheme allowed the entry of foreigners without the proper screening process. The Health Department reported 10 new cases of Omicron subvariants here in the country. This includes 7 cases of the Omicron BA 2.12.1 and 3 cases of BA.5 subvariant. For more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Masks on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I am Sean Yao. We are One News.